What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. Sorry this one's a little bit later. What can I say? I played all day yesterday again and basically passed out when I was originally going to do a video. So, I want to sum up my day 2 stuff for you guys. This will be the last video I do that is super spoiler free. From this point on, after this video, I will be a little bit more specific when it comes to new maps and stuff. Actual story content is going to be a while before you see on the channel, but just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So, I can really boil it down to 3 or 4 major things I did yesterday that I did really want to talk to you guys about in terms of the expansion, as well as some community goings on, and specifically as well, some of ArenaNet's responses to how we have taken the expansion. So let's just jump straight in. Day 2 began with a stream that you guys could have come to check out. I talked a lot about the game, hell of a lot more than I've talked about on the video so far. It's really hard to sum everything up. But specifically, one of the key things we did was we explored the meta event in the second map of the expansion. Now, you guys following my channel will have seen a blog post shortly before Heart of Thorn's release talking about a golden city called Tarir. To say little else about Tarir, this is where you can go to meet the Exalted, and the map does host a large meta event, just as, say, Drytop host one, just as, say, the Silver Waste host one, and as Verdant Brink kind of holds as well, but I've not really played into too much. Now, you guys will also remember that shortly before the expansion released, they described it as containing several large-scale meta events and super bosses that were on the same scale or tuning, like mega super bosses, as both Tequatl and the Triple Trouble Worm. Now, those specifically have been some of the most fun I've ever had in Guild Wars 2, and you may recall hyped past me talking about how, you know, this was basically a footnote at TwitchCon. This was that they barely even mentioned as the rest of the expansion dwarfed this fact, but it was something I was really looking forward to. And so Tarier seems to be, to me at least, what ArenaNet were talking about when they were mentioning some of these super difficult meta events, open world environs. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. We did play on the stream, and what our experience kind of was. So, just like Verdant Brink, the second map kind of has a reset point where it's got a ton of events that go on, and then after a certain moment, the map kind of falls to quiescence, and then it rolls again and everything resets. This time, though, it's not tied to the day-night cycle. It's simply tied to, you know, the progress that the players have been making on its own, like, cycles there instead. And the idea is when the map very first begins, basically the Mordrum own everything on the map except the starting waypoint, where you enter from Verdant Brink, and the exit waypoint, where you head into the next map. Aside from that, everything's contested except the city itself, which is a single waypoint, and that's the only safe place. There are Mordrum everywhere. So there are 4 outposts around the city. Northwatch, Eastwatch, Southwatch, Westwatch. And all of these originally start contested by Mordrum. You flood out, basically, as a large group, as, you know, 150 to 200 players. It seems the map cap, I could be wrong about this, but it seems the map cap on the second map is significantly higher than other maps. Usually I invite people in to come play with me, and then we end up getting map capped. You know, everybody's in and nobody else can ferry on. But people just were consistently able to keep coming in, no matter how many more people shuffled through my party, which was really quite interesting. So you start in the middle of the city, and you all flood out through the north, the west, the south, the east, and go retake these outposts. Each outpost then is its own meta event, and each meta event revolves around different people in the jungle helping the Exalted out, or rather the Exalted helping different people out. So, for example, Westwatch, there's a bunch of Skrit around there, of course. So ArenaNet have done a golden city, it just makes sense to have the Skrit nearby, and there is a meta event entirely at Westwatch dealing with how the Skrit are interacting with the jungle and the Exalted there. There's some funny storylines in the open world with those events that you guys can check out, but each one is very distinct. Northwatch has some really amazing lore stuff. The other 2 watch posts I haven't actually done yet. But as you go through these events, the Exalted are trying to find these things called pylons. And each time they activate a pylon, they build this massive construct called an Exalted Armor, which they say is for defending the city because the Mordrum are going to try and attack them. For every pylon that you and your friends manage to actually raise through the dynamic events, through the metas at these outposts, you will get these armors spawn. It seems 2 of them at least, far as I can tell. And the Exalted Armors then return back to the watch post from the pylon where they spawn, and they wait. So you've kind of got a while to go to all these outposts, finish all their meta events, and build tons of these exalted armors. After a while, though, the Morgem attack, and if you haven't managed to push those events in that time, you haven't had enough players, you haven't split up properly, then it's over, and you have no more opportunity to do that. We move into another phase of the meta event for the entire map now, where basically players can play in little mini-games against one another in order to compete for piloting those giant armors I was just talking about. It is absolutely phenomenal, and each outpost has their own little mini-game you can play in. So, for example, with the Skrit, you bid with the map-wide currency against other people to pay for a space in the exalted armors. That's actually really fun. It's like an open world auction thing. It's really cool. If that sounds like an annoying gold sink to you, though, at North, the minigame you play is you're basically like playing football with these little mushrooms spawn, and you've got to kick the mushrooms into other mushrooms, and the first person to get 3 in a row earns the right to pilot one of the armors. At Eastwatch, I think it is, there's a race. You literally go into like this mini jumping puzzle room, and you have to race against your allies. The first one to cross the finish line wins the chance to pilot one of these exalted armors. And obviously, they're in a finite supply. So, in the best world, if you pushed every event, then you can get 6 for each outpost. And then what you've got is a whole map full of people, and a certain number of these armors that everyone's been competing for. And finally, the Morgem attack. This is the final phase of the meta event. Tarir now is the place that gets attacked by Morgem. The Morgem spawn up everywhere, and when the map began, it was kind of like everywhere was under attack except Tarir, which was safe, and now we're in the reverse situation. Everyone's in the outpost, geared to the teeth, but Tarir is under attack, and so you flood in from north, south, west, and east, back into the city. And basically your job now is there are 4 Morgem bosses that all have to be killed similar to the way Triple Trouble works. And this means that they're all invulnerable, but they have specific things you can do to trigger burn phases on them to do damage. That specific thing is different for each assault, depending on what angle of the compass you're coming in from. And that method of triggering the burn phase also relates to some of the stories you participated in back at the outposts, which is fantastic. One of them, for example, has you gliding and mid-air firing bombs to trigger a burn phase. Almost like airborne combat, but not really. One of them has you being tiny little mushrooms that you can glide around as. And once you've triggered the burn phases, you've got to kill all of the bosses at the same time. If you kill one early, like if the Zerg spams, just north, nobody goes to any other places, you go there, in 1 minute they all regenerate. So you have to kill them in kind of a close window to one another. At the same time, at every single one of these bosses, there are specific monsters that are like immune to damage and can't be hurt by anyone except the players who are in the exalted armors. The armors, by the way, have their unique skills. They have like 100,000 health for one of them. There's a couple of different varieties of the exalted armors, depending where you get them from. It's a really complicated and fun event. If you should defeat all 4, then the meta event's complete. Your reward for doing this is basically whether you win or lose the meta event, the city will be cleared out and it'll become safe again based on the way that they deal with the story, which I won't spoil for you guys. But basically, that when there's the map resets at that point and goes into a cooldown, and you get like 10 to 20 minutes to just wander around, and the Morgem have receded completely. At this point, you can travel to a place beneath the city, and it's only at this point you can go to this place, where there are loads of chests that the Exalted have left around. And you can open them with keys that you get from the map-wide currency, and you can get unique loot there. This is actually how you get one of the new stat combinations, the only place in the game you can get it, Viper's stats. And I was lucky enough, having done this event, to get an Ascended Viper's recipe for an insignia, which was pretty cool, actually. So if you completed the event successfully, there are more chests down there. There are these giant chests that give way more loot. If you failed the event, then you can still go down, but there's a few less chests. And it's kind of like this labyrinthine area you can run around in for a while before it kicks you back out and the map begins again. So if it sounds pretty good, that's because it is pretty good. This was absolutely super fun to play. We did kind of a ragtag thing. I tried to explain it as best as people as I could. I'd never seen anyone complete this at all. So at the start of the stream, I was kind of thinking to myself, wow, this really could be Triple Trouble tuned. I really like the idea that this is super difficult and we have guilds that, become experts at running this. And, you've got like guilds that run this maybe on Thursdays, and then they do Vine Wrath on Fridays, and maybe they do Triple Trouble on Saturdays and so on. You've got like this whole roster of stuff you want to do as a guild, for example. It seems to me, though, once people have learned just a little bit of how this works, it is probably doable without any super formal communication. I mean, my experience as a stream as it totally seemed like we were going to fail, but it does give you a lot of leeway with, like, the various phases. You get a long time to actually participate in the entire fight. You get a long time to bid for all of the armors. You get a long time to complete all of the events to get all the pylons up. You get a long time, if you kill one of the bosses, you get like a 1-minute window to kill the other bosses, and it seemed to be plenty of time. We actually managed to do it. This was a fantastic experience, super fun. But to go back to the dev's original comment at TwitchCon suggesting that these are like Tequatl and Triple Trouble. Now, design-wise, yes, you can see like there's a lot of similarities between the events, but in terms of difficulty tuning, I think there is a vast difference here. Maybe that's not a terrible thing. Maybe the idea of building content that only organized guilds can run instead of basically being, you know, map chat commanded is a bad idea because it's too exclusionary, maybe. All I know is that I had most fun with the difficulty of Tech and Triple Trouble, and I actually don't think the expansion events are going to be hitting that. Nonetheless, though, pretty amazing event, and I'd really encourage you guys to get into the second map at some point when you feel like some of the content you've been playing has died away, and see if you can organize some people ragtag, just like I did, to be able to be successful at this thing. It is true, despite what I just said about the difficulty, it is true that I had never seen this be finished, and I was very frequently asking people in chat, hey, have you ever seen this done? Has anybody seen this be done? And pretty much everyone said no. I think I had one person said they'd seen it been done before. I'd be pretty interested in the comments to hear what your guys' experiences of this have been so far, and whether they line up to mine. This was, though, a good example. Yesterday, I gave a glowing review of Heart of Thorns and pointed out that I'd never seen any events stall, any bugs. The second we got on stream, the second we got a super high number of players, events did begin to stall. I think it was 3 of them specifically across the entire map stalled. And unfortunately, this is during the phase while you're trying to build pylons, so that meant less exalted armors for people, which meant less help actually in the final phase of the fight. But then that didn't matter anyway, because the final phase of the fight, you know, we managed to get through. So, a bit of a push-pull balance there, but with recent patch notes, they say that they've actually fixed the stall bugs on the specific events that I encountered were stalling, so, hey, that's quite nice. So that was my experience in the second map. I still, for what it's worth, with the expansion, have barely touched on the last map. The third map is a complete, messy labyrinth to me, and I do not understand it at all, and that's a wonderful thing. I still have played not a single adventure, despite some of them seeming really cool, and I've not played any Halloween stuff whatsoever. I've mostly been getting masteries. So, this brings me on to a pretty big topic, because yesterday, again, I mentioned something about the way that masteries are structured for the personal story in the expansion. What they do early on with the personal story is they'll ask you to get, like, gliding tier 1, which doesn't take long at all to do your next mission. And then maybe they'll ask you to get, you know, bouncing mushrooms, or, you know, the basic exalted thing, or the basic Nuhok thing. And none of these have been offensive to me whatsoever. This has all been very easy. But I did hit a wall yesterday with one of my personal story steps where they were asking me to get, I think it's tier 4 of the Itzel mastery. And so I haven't got this yet, but tier 4 is suddenly a lot more work. Now, again, it's kind of this Metroidvania experience, but this really was upsetting a lot of people. I'm not entirely sure where I stand on this whole discussion here, because on the one hand, yeah, it kind of feels really lame and arbitrary that you, on this specific instance, you're being asked to get some, like, really late mastery, and it's only just to get through one really minor obstacle, and then once you get through the obstacle, it's, like, thrown to the wind and it's ignored. It doesn't really seem like it has a great spirit to it. But on the other hand, I kind of like the idea that people aren't just rushing from story point to story point to story point, that they're actually getting invested in the story because it is so high quality now, and then they're, you know, they're also being encouraged to go out and explore the jungle and stuff. Basically, ArenaNet are kind of forcing us to not have this experience where we rush through it in one day. I never liked the idea that I could complete Heart of Thorns in one day, and even though this seems somehow artificial, that that's what's stopping me from finishing it in one day, I do think there is some good in that design. I do think there's some good there. But again, I think that this specific instance was probably tuned a little bit too high and just not very rewarding. And ArenaNet did actually address it. They said, look, the idea we think is sound, what we're doing here, and I agree with that. But they said on this instance, this was maybe not really that great, so we're actually just removing that requirement for that personal story step. So that specific mastery step, there's no longer that wall. I haven't played the story step itself since hearing that. That was right before I went to bed last night. But that's pretty fantastic, and it's nice to see that they are listening to that kind of thing. Of course, there is this parallel discussion discussion going on where people want their elite specializations way faster than ArenaNet want you to have them. I personally am really enjoying my elite specialization. I think this whole discussion comes down to which elite specialization you are playing. So for those out of the loop, the point here is you need to get a bunch of hero challenges in the jungle to unlock your elite specialization, and often hero challenges in the jungle are locked by masteries. So on your first time through, once you have the masteries done, you'll get them really quickly, but on your first time through, it can feel like it's going to take a while to get your elite specialization. But again, I think this depends on the elite spec. For me, definitely my opinion will be a little bit more lax about this because I was never that excited about Tempest in the first place. But, I mean, I was playing Tempest and having a lot of fun on Tempest well before I had the entire elite specialization track finished. I didn't care about Rebound at the end, and for a while I didn't care about some of my Grandmasters. However, let's say you're a thief, and let's say you were really excited about playing Daredevil. For you, it's going to be quite painful, because to be honest, you don't get your badass new dodges and stuff until right at the end of training your elite specialization, so it's kind of like, oh, I got an extra dodge roll and a staff for a while, and then slowly you're going to be getting your extra stuff. And for those people, I think that you're going to have a slightly different experience. All in all, though, I don't feel like playing the game is grind. I cannot understand that level that people are on right now. The jungle is fantastic. I spent a little bit of time yesterday going back to Verdant Brink. The footage you will have seen mostly in this video is flying around in the canopy in Verdant Brink, which is so much bigger and more amazing and jumping puzzle feeling, and like a completely different experience of Guild Wars 2 that I thought I was ever gonna get. Entirely in Verdant Brink that I didn't even know was there, because these maps are just so huge with so much stacked into them. And every moment of it for me is a complete blast. So do I really care that I don't have the elite specialization right away? No. And I like the idea that the elite specializations are something that we work on. In fact, I felt really damn good when I finally finished learning Tempest yesterday. Can I just add, on my second day of playing the game at all, and, you know, I got that ding, it finished the title, and I got my a little bit more progress on my collection. That was really, really fantastic. So, I'm still enjoying myself an awful lot, but there's definitely some discussion there to be had. That's pretty much it. That sums up my second day of Heart of Thorns, guys. For the future videos this week, I'll probably go into more detailed looks at specific things, kind of like we did with Tarier here, but like videos dedicated on them, rather than just first impression stuff. But anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. I would just say, if you're watching this video just after it came up, there's probably a stream going on right now. Look in the comments for that. And I will see you tomorrow. I'd love to hear how you guys have been experiencing the expansion going into day 2, day 3. Do you think we should have everything by now? Or do you think that it's okay that we haven't finished the story yet? And it's okay that we haven't done, you know, got all of our elite specializations and so forth. Love to hear your thoughts, guys. Don't forget about Halloween. I certainly won't be. I'll be playing a lot more of that very soon. And I'll see you next time. Octavine's vulnerable at mushrooms. We need to kill it. Go, 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 go. Burn him down. Oh, I don't even know whether we're going to kill our breacher. I don't even know whether we're going to kill it. This is a lot of damage we're looking for here.
Go ahead, hit me.
Oh, we might. Go, push, 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 push. Oh, God. Do I overload? Is that what I do? Oh, no, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, did we get the kill? Are we going to get it? All right, yes, it's dead.
Seriously.
We got 1 minute till the Sanctum gets breached. Oh, this is just like Worm. It's like, oh, do I want to run to one of the other areas? What have we got? We've got West is done. I don't know whether any of the others are. I don't know. I think we might have screwed the pooch in this one, guys.
Eye of the storm. Feel the burn.
30 seconds. Oh, listen to the epic music.
Charged up.
Come on, North!
Eye of the storm.
Oh, I'm dead. Oh my God, we did it!
Getting healthy.
What? What heroes? Oh my God, we did it! What is this? Oh my God, that was badass. Tarir has been saved from the Mordrim. Exalted have revealed grand exalted chest beneath the city.